All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Dark Horse Racing Area 51 Indy Series here tonight at Michigan International Speedway. It is going to be tonight a 90-lap event here. As say drivers just now kicking off their qualifying laps, and say it's going to be nice and warm this evening, though. Let's say 114-degree track temperature right now as we hop on board with my partner in crime, Steve Gottschalk. So, Steve, I know he's got to run some laps here tonight. Got to get a little bit of a taste of that dirty air, but say a nice wide track here tonight. I'm sure it's going to open up some possibilities for these drivers here this evening.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun actually out there drafting with a pretty good sized pack of cars. Hang on.
No, you're right. As
Okay.
I know you had mentioned a little bit of the aero push. I say that you experienced a little bit. But then I know you also mentioned making a little bit of some in-car adjustments as well. How did you feel like that was maybe helping, hurting? Were you able to kind of get a feel for that through the course of that run?
Okay, so uh, as you guys can see on the qual lap here, when you're by yourself, either in qual trim or race trim, you can go flat out all the way around the track and pick any lane you want. I was very surprised to find out that if you're behind one other car or especially multiple cars, the aero push is unbelievable. So I was playing around with settings, ended up putting the weight jacker up to +3 and the front anti-roll bar down to +5, and I found that I was able to enter the turns a little bit. Well, I was a little bit pushy entering the turns, but I could get a better run off. I still had to play with the gas pedal though, because I just couldn't stay flat out when I was following people. And so what I think these guys are going to have to do tonight is play with their line and play with the gas pedal in order to be able to get a run on the car ahead of them and complete the pass, because otherwise they're going to just push into the wall coming off the turn.
Yeah, so even with a track as wide as Michigan, the wall comes at you a lot quicker than you might be expecting, and so yeah, I think you're right. These drivers definitely have to be aware of that, and then of course the other thing that's going to be, I think, going to be a potential curious of how it's going to play out tonight is going to be our fuel window tonight, Steve. 90-lap race here tonight, but I was hearing probably around 25 or so if you're going maxed out rich. And then if you choose one of those lower map settings, try to save some fuel, map 3, map 5, for instance. Obviously you got 2 through 5 to use to try to save a little bit of fuel, but if you can hold the draft there and run that high map, that might put you in a position there to be able to save, maybe try to turn this into a 2-stop race potentially. Of course, pending how the yellows turn out.
Yeah, that might have been an interesting thing for me to play with when I was behind a pack of cars, just to see how low I could put the engine map and still be able to keep up with people.
So I'd say there's always a lot of things that we can play with and try to learn as we go along here. So we'll have to wait and see. But right now it looks like qualifying is just about completed here. Looks like got a few more cars on track here, finishing up their laps right now. But it looks like just those couple are going to be about 2 other drivers right now. So we'll see what lap times they can put on here for tonight. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun one here this evening. Definitely looking forward to see what these drivers are gonna have in store for us tonight.
And I don't know if some people have to finish the second lap yet, because in qualifying at this track, it's going to be like on any super speedway. You're going to take the first lap up high, and then the second lap is your money lap, and take it as low as you can without scrubbing off speed. So I'm seeing quite a difference in lap times, bigger than I would have expected. And some of the people I would have thought would have qualified up near the front haven't.
Yes, actually noticing the same there, and actually a lot of drivers qualifying tonight as well. Looks like 19 of our, I believe, 21 drivers that are be taking part tonight put down a qualifying lap. But you're right though, Steve. I think some names that we would expect to see further up the field there, just not having the laps they're probably hoping for tonight. So with that, though, we're going to go ahead and pull up our starting grid for tonight. And on that front row, it is going to be the 007 of Henry Bennett winning pole position. Right next to him, that was going to be the number 50 of Charles Teed. Then got Matt Wagner third, Andrew Wood fourth, Yari Brupacher rounding out our top five. And say Yari, he won the sister track last season at California, so this could be a good omen for him potentially. Say very similar track obviously here. Then you got Scott Rankin sixth, Jimmy Dryden, Nick Degroot, Gary Corley, and Benjamin Combs. In 11th, 12th, you got Jim Brooks and Josh Laston. And then as we make our way through the rest of the field, you got Craig Forsyth in 13th, Jeff Highsong, AJ Hopson, James Ledford, Carl Henderson, Jim Herrick, Michael Spell, all making qualifying times. And the two drivers that opted not to put down a qualifying lap tonight include Jack Walls and Don Reedy, which, like I said, I believe is going to put us at 21 drivers taking part in tonight's event. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see what these drivers are going to have in store. I think we're going to see some pretty good action here tonight, Steve.
Yeah, I think definitely. And one thing I didn't mention when I was doing my laps around the track, the suck up from the draft is just unbelievable in these cars. You get such a run on the car ahead of you. But I also noticed, especially on the backstretch, when you pulled out into the clean air to try and pass someone, if you didn't have enough momentum, it was almost like, like having a parachute drop out from the back.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be all what it's all about, is trying to hit that momentum at the right time. So let's say another thing to mention is that we talk about some of these drivers, let's say just the dedication. Obviously, one of those drivers we talked about a few seasons back being Craig Forsyth, say having foot surgery and still racing in that number 27 machine. Let's say we got another one of those drivers here tonight, Steve, and that is the number 18 of Jeff Highsong, actually starting right next to Craig. Say Jeff, unfortunately, say a bit of an injured knee. Say had a bit of a paver stone to the kneecap. So definitely in some pain. But say he was testing it out. He felt like he'd be all right for tonight, trying to kind of practice the on and off throttle. And so say driving a little bit injured here tonight. It's that 18 car, but say it's always. Say hopefully it doesn't affect him too much. But say it's cool to see these guys kind of sticking it out and it's a whole different thing when you're doing this for a league situation, obviously, versus these people that make their careers out of it. But I think also shows just how much these guys enjoy racing with one another in these series.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully he took some painkillers, and it's a good thing that this is a track where you don't have to do a whole lot of braking. I don't know if if it's his left foot or his right foot, but you're also not. Well, I guess you are modulating the gas some if you're not out front, but it could be a lot worse if it was a short track or a road course.
Yeah, you're exactly. Yeah, I mean the road course especially I think would be a rough one, but like I said, it's definitely. Let's say it's fun to see him on, but like I said, hopefully he's able to make it through. And like I said, maybe more incentive to get to the front, try to get that clean air, maybe be able to keep your foot to the floor, not even have to worry about that throttle pedal. Just keep that thing mad and put a brick on it, if you will. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, 90 laps is the race distance tonight. Fuel tire strategy always could come into play here as well. But it's going to be Henry Bennett, Charles Teed that lead the front row here. There's the pace cars just about to duck off there, and they'll get going on the initial start on the green flag. And then any future cautions will then be controlled by the leader and single file as green flag is out, and we are underway 90 laps here tonight.
And if I remember correctly, last time we had somebody lose it in turn 2 on the first lap.
Yeah, I saw a little wiggle, but so far everyone's going to get through unscathed. As I said, I know Gary Corley's got contact, Jim Brooks involved, Jimmy Dryden's involved, yellow is out. I say pretty much second half of the field, Craig Forsyth's involved in it as well. So we got numerous cars involved. I saw the 99 and the 7 getting caught up in it, the 27's in it, the 51. I think James Ledford as well. I think Don Reedy may have gotten away with it. Say Gary Corley trying to get it back to the pits, but he's got, looks like left front tires, completely off the car there. So we talked about Steve. Like I said, I think they made it further this time than last time around, but unfortunately contact yet again on that opening lap here.
Yeah, this one was actually on the straightaway. It had nothing to do with getting loose coming off the turn.
Yeah, we're going to try to find exactly where it all kicked off. I'm watching the 7 here of Gary Corley. He's got the 99 of Jimmy Dryden to his inside, or to his outside, I should say. And there's contact between the two of them. I say, well, let's try to take one more look to see who moved down or up on which. I'll say, let's go back to the chopper view. I think that actually gives us our best look here, Steve. So you can always use the lines kind of as a judge there. And honestly, they kind of both move. One moves up, one moves down, and they meet in the middle. And then unfortunately behind them, just nothing these guys can do. You can see at that point the 7's around. The 99 tries to avoid him. That washes him up into Jim Brooks. Craig Forsyth, nowhere for Craig to go as well. And then from there, you can see the 48, I believe that is, James Ledford. He gets caught up in that one as well on the inside. And then we saw a few cars a little further back here, just sneaking on by here. But unfortunately, about 4 or 5 cars caught up on this lap one wreck.
Yep, kind of a mini big one right there.
Yeah, that it was, and it looks like a lot of drivers had to take the tow as well, which is always a huge disappointment. So that's going to put them at least 1 lap down. It looks like James Ledford, Jim Brooks said, unfortunately, they have to burn their faster pairs, but they're back out on track. They do not lose a lap, it appears. I think they're still on the tail end of the lead lap. Those that did have to take tows, though, unfortunately, include Gary Corley, Craig Forsyth, and it looks like actually AJ Hopson may have been involved as well. I didn't catch where AJ was involved, but he's also in the pits here. Jimmy Drennan just now heading back out on track, which I believe will, like I said, I think puts him 1 down here. So yeah, it's unfortunately a quick early incident there to cost a handful of drivers a lot of track position. But now it kind of, I think, is going to put that fuel mileage again right back into play here, because we did have a couple drivers top off, or I should say pit under that yellow, first of which was the 09 of Josh Laston.
I wonder if Jimmy Drennan realized he had a car coming up underneath him, because it kind of looks like he was trying to come down a little bit to catch the draft of the low line ahead of him, and then there was a car there.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think they're kind of going for the same real estate, really, unfortunately. And so it looks like actually we got a handful here also topping off, Steve, once we get the one to go right now. Yari Brewpock are going to be those leading them on the top off strategy with Jack Walls, Michael Spell, James Ledford, and Jim Brooks. I say for James and Jim, it might as well. They were going to have to restart in the back anyway. So I think that's the right call for them. And then also need to mention Craig Forsyth is now back out on track, as is Gary Corley. We'll let everything cycle through to see exactly where everybody is in relation to one another. But I think actually Jimmy Drennan looks like he actually was able to stay on the lead lap as well in that 99 machine. So I think Lucky Dog battle is going to be between the 27 and the 7 as of right. Oh, actually, no, Craig's trying to get up to speed. He's had a moment on the front stretch. I'll say he's not going to be happy that I caught that. Apologies for that, Craig. So unfortunately, night going bad from bad to worse for that 27 car. So now he's going to have to limp that thing back to pit road, and he's going to have to do so under green flag conditions.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping he didn't hit anything, but, yep, nosed into the outside wall.
Yeah, the only hope is if he hit it straight on with the nose cone, maybe he can get away with it here. But the lights are still off of the pace cars, so you can see right now they're kind of spaced out a little more than I think you'd want to be behind Henry Bennett, because, I mean, again, you don't want to give him too much room. Now you see Matt starting to close the gap back up. So we'll say once that pace car ducks off, it's up to Henry when he wants to go. So say that pace car has to be off the racing surface, though. I say now you see it's down and away. So now it's up to Henry when he wants to get going. And now he is down and away. So this is where you have to also watch out for those accordion restarts. But so far it looks like it's a clean start as they head back into turn number 1.
Okay, I'm watching Craig Forsyth just to see what he does in the pits, because he went right in.
Yeah, and that's the right call there. So hopefully he can get a quick pit stop done there and maybe just get that nose replaced. So right now, though, it's Matt Wagner who's putting the move on Henry Bennett, trying to see if he can lead this lap here. Say, obviously, Henry able to lead those first couple laps. I say Matt clears him entering 3, but now can he keep the momentum out of 4 and lead this lap? And it looks like just by a nose he does, as Craig still sits on pit road, and looks like it's going to be more than just a nose cone, Steve, because it's a very lengthy pit stop still here for Craig.
And that's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, he never really got a chance to get his race started, and already going to be multiple laps down, possibly still a damaged car as well. So And you see right there, Matt Wagner, he got that lap lead, Steve, and he drops straight to the back here, about 5th position now. I think that was part of his plan, was just wanted to get a lap lead and then it's kind of going into cruise control here. And now it's Charles T that's actually found his way to the point and starting to look like we're going to see that leapfrog strategy right now. Looks like Charles and Henry here are going to maybe try to work with one another here to try to build some gap up over that 3rd position out of Scott Rankin.
Is it possible that Matt Wagner has gone into fuel saving mode? I know that's unusual.
I gotta say, Matt's one of those guys that say it doesn't take him long to catch on to some strategies. That say, unfortunately, we know he's been burned a few times on fuel mileage, so I think right now he's going to try to see what he can do. But the other thing he has to do, though, is has to make sure he can't fall too far behind these guys in front of him. Because, of course, they say you got to make sure you stay within that draft, which these cars, you can hold a pretty good distance before the draft really disappears. Usually it's about, I would say, a second and a half window. But obviously, the closer you stay to them, the less you have to be aggressive to kind of close that gap back up, which you can see right now you've got about the top 10 here within just maybe, a second and a half at the absolute most right now. So, but yeah, right now it looks like Henry and Charles are kind of doing that leapfrog strategy like we talked about, but I think Scott wants to join the party here.
You almost have to do that leapfrog strategy if you're up there because you get such a run on the car ahead of you.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And the thing is, if you don't do, then that 3rd car line, he's going to probably jump underneath you. So it's that risk versus reward. But we do need to mention, we do have a bit of a split right now from the field. Josh Laston right now, kind of the caboose, if you will, of this lead pack. Let's say these guys all clearly and easily in this lead pack draft. Michael Spell and Jim Brooks are just out of range right now. Michael about, looks like 1.31 second or so behind these guys. But actually, Michael really closing the gap last time by was about a half a second quicker than Henry Bennett. So I think they're going to be able to pull themselves right back into this mix as well here. And also, those were 2 drivers that topped off as well in that one to go, Steve.
Yeah, which just shows you how strong the draft is here. How many laps did you say they could go on fuel?
I think full rich, I think it's about 25 laps, so kind of for that caution, I would say maybe they can get to, let's say maybe 28 or so, which maybe that's where they think, hey, we can just be aggressive, use that pit strategy. So I'll have to kind of keep an eye on that and see how it all pans out. But right now I'm watching Henry Bennett here behind Scott Rankin, our race leader, and he seems awful comfortable right now, just cruising behind Scott right now. So I'm kind of thinking that Henry's definitely one of those big picture drivers. So I think Henry's just right now kind of using this 156 car as a draft breaker, if you will. Let's say not a knock on Scott by any means. We know how fast he is without needing anybody to maybe draft off of him. So right now it looks like we got about 2 different strategies right now from the 007 and the 156 here.
Well, I think we got a lot of fuel saving strategy going on in this whole pack because you don't see a lot of people trying to pass each other.
Yeah, I'm saying pretty much the whole field's caught right back up here to the main pack. We've got now 16 cars in this lead pack right now. James Ledford, unfortunately, he's fallen off the lead pack in that 48 machine. Him and Don Reedy, they're kind of off on their own here. About 5 seconds off the lead right here. Actually, 6.5 it looks like now. Do need to also mention, though, Craig Forsyth, he is back out on track, Steve, but I think that car definitely does have damage. Even without the draft, I think that car just does not have the pace he's looking for. I think he's got damage repaired, but I think just the pace is not there. So I think this is going to be just him trying to limp this thing along to the end right now. So just, again, really unfortunate start of the race for that 27 car.
And I see one driver that is not worrying about saving fuel right now, and that would be the Carl Henderson driven machine. The white car that is now, what is that, 4th or 5th?
Up to 5th, yeah, plus 12 for Carl. I think you're right. I think Carl, he's decided, he's like, you know what, all these guys, they're just saving fuel. Let's say this is the opportunity. You can take these opportunities. Everybody's just kind of cruising on maybe map 3, map 5. I say Carl probably just running map 1 and said, you know what, let them run the race. I'm going to go on a different strategy because, again, it could be a track position strategy that winds up winning this race. If a caution comes at a timely opportunity for Carl, that could put him in the catbird seat. So Carl opted, like I said, to get that track position in that 42 car, trying to work over that number 50 of Charles Teed. Hasn't worked as of yet, but has, like you said, worked his way up from now plus 12 from the starting spot. So 17th to 5th here, and not too long, or a pretty short time span here.
And it looks like it does get a little harder to pass the closer you get to the front.
Yeah, and you also see, I am impressed though, Steve. These guys are able to actually stay just a little bit off of each other without really being completely separated on the draft side of things. I really thought that they would have to kind of everybody stagger way off groove, maybe a lane or two away from each other, but these guys are holding really steady here. A very big difference to what we saw last week, where just the arrow push was massive. Here they're able to do a lot more close running with one another. And I think that track temp helps as well right now. Again, 114 degrees is that track temperature. Now Carl's gonna make a big move here on that 50 of Charles Teed. It's underneath. I don't think he's gonna be able to make the move complete here, but is still in a really strong spot. And actually, you see now he's taking advantage of those that 89 and make the move, trying to see if he can sneak around him while Carl kind of gets pinned to the inside.
Yep, and I'll tell you what the difficult thing for him right now is, and I experienced this when I was out in practice. When you're on the inside, you get a really nice run going into the turns, but when you come off the turns, if you don't have somebody, there's a wreck.
Oh, caution's out, yep. So we'll have to see where it is. We have a couple of cars involved. I think Jimmy Drynan was involved. Looks like Jack Walls, potentially, yeah, Jack Walls as well. Jim Herrick also caught up in this one. And I believe I see one further up as well. It's going to be, James Ledford also here. I think Jimmy Drynan also caught up in that. He's already had to take a tow into the pits. It looks like I was going to say contact these guys trying to get back up to speed. So let's go back and try to see what exactly happened here. So it looks like it may have kicked off around the 99. Yeah, it shows him already. You already see him spinning here. So let's go back a little further here. I think he just enters too shallow, Steve. It looks like, and we talked about you don't want to touch that apron. Unfortunately, I think that 99 just gets a little too much rotation, and you'll see him just get right up against this white line, or yellow line, I'm sorry. And then from there, so he's going to be a passenger just along for the ride here, and unfortunately, in a bad spot to those around him.
I saw it. There must have been a second.
I think there's a second. You're right. I think there's actually something else that happens afterwards. So we'll watch this one real fast. So we'll see if I think nobody actually looks like it's a solo spin for the 90 or for the 99 car. So let's jump further ahead then, around the 83 of Jack Walls and the 40 of Jim Herrick. Maybe actually it looks like it may have kicked off around them. We'll pick it back up here. Oh yeah, you can see there's a check up in front of them. Say Jim Brooks kind of looks like he had to react, I believe, maybe to Benjamin Combs. And then from there, they say these three, actually Michael Spell, another one involved. Sorry, missed that originally. But these three get caught up in it. And unfortunately, we mentioned James Ledford a little bit ways back here. I think probably just didn't know which way to go here. So we'll see Gary Corley, probably the same thing, just try to sneak through. Because right now, they're pretty much all throughout the track right now. So we'll keep an eye on it from here. And then we'll work our way back a little bit here. But you can see one starting to slide down the track there. So you're kind of having to pick and choose very carefully. You see, yeah, Gary goes low, then he has to go high, and then actually you already see the 48 around. I wonder if he may have got some help here. No, it just gets loose, actually, while slowing down, and that's what catches up the 48, unfortunately, in this incident as well.
You know, I'm thinking if you're Jimmy Dryden, you're probably feeling pretty lucky right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say that definitely is about the best you could hope for there. To have a spin like that and get back on track. Like I said, I thought that was the incident, but it actually was not. And actually, got to mention beneficiary of this is going to be Gary Corley. He gets back on the lead lap. He was involved in that lap 1 incident as well. So now he's going to be back on the lead lap in that number 7 machine, which is going to leave now, I believe, James Ledford and AJ Hopson 1 lap down. As I believe, actually, James might still be trying to take... Nope, there he actually goes. I wasn't sure if he's taking a tow or not. And then AJ Hopson, actually, he's staying out, Steve. A great call by him, because now he'll get that wave around on the 1 to go. and hopefully puts himself in position to get one of those laps back. As saying, just needs to catch a potential timely yellow as well.
So with 20 laps complete, we're now at a position where, let's see, 90 minus 20 is 70. You can't go 35 laps.
Yeah, so I think it's 2-stop regardless at this point.
Yep, but that means these guys can go full rich now and not worry about how much fuel they burn, because they're going to have to take 2 stops.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. And in regards to that, Steve, who were we talking about being aggressive there on that previous run, not worrying about the fuel saving strategy? Look where he's up to now in that second position of Carl Henderson. I say a great pit stop as well, but it was gaining a ton of track position before this all kicked off those cautions. And like I said, he wasn't cruising. He was working his way to the front, so now he's going to restart right behind our race leader in that 007.
Yep, that's fantastic. That really worked. That strategy really worked out.
And like you said, now this is going to change the complexion of this race as well. Say, because you do have still options. Maybe you still try to save fuel, because if you can go longer than everybody else, if you're still maintaining a good race pace, that could open up some opportunities for you. Maybe pit later than everybody else. If there's a caution during the pit stop cycle, trap the field a lap down. But like I said, I think at this point, though, everybody's going to need 2 stops to make it to the end of this one. So now it's just going to be all about the strategy calls, though, for these guys. And it's going to be up to Henry Bennett, again, to control this next restart here.
And Don Reedy is up to 3rd from 22nd place. So his strategy worked out really well as well.
Yes, I think Don actually. I think he stayed out front, led that lap, and I think he actually tucked in on the pit stop in the pits there to get some fuel. As here goes Henry Bennett, he drops and is away. I say so. Don's going to still be in the lead lap, but he's going to fall back a little bit here. But like I mentioned, though, and actually looking at Gary Corley, he's going to restart here about already half a lap behind the leaders. Unfortunately, just did not get caught up to the field here. Right now, though, we're pretty spread out back here, but it's going to be Carl Henderson, a great run out of 2. So we talked about the draft here, and he actually decides to tuck in behind Henry Bennett. Now he's going to make a look as they hit turn number 3.
And I think he's going to get that. Yep, Carl Henderson into the lead.
Yeah, so he looks like he'll easily clear, like I said, out of 4 now. If he can just hold the bomb, he wants to try to get that lap led, of course, and he will get it done there. So now we'll have to see what is the strategy for these guys behind. Do they decide to stay patient? Do they stay aggressive? And sure enough, I say it's going to be Nick Degroot who's done riding too. He knows it's going to be a 2-stop race to the end. He's going to stay after it as well.
Yep, I think we'll see a lot more aggression now.
And so as he said, there goes Nick Degroot. He jumps to the point now as well. So yeah, he's going to take over the lead in that number 89 car and again get one of those ever crucial bonus points.
And this is interesting. Carl Henderson's trying to pass on the outside. He may be able to pull that off.
Yeah, I'll just have to see. Sorry, I was having to deal with a couple some inappropriate chat messages on our YouTube page. Hopefully all squared away now. But yeah, right now though, like you said, he was trying to make that top side work. Right now hasn't panned out for him yet, but again, still lots of time to go in this one. I'd say now the question is, like you said, do they kind of continue that leapfrog approach, or maybe they start to go fuel save? Because from what I'm watching from Henry Bennett here, Henry looks awful comfortable right now, just kind of cruising in that 3rd position. I think it's like we talked about, maybe going to try to run this thing out as long as he can. Maybe try to trap some guys a lap down, depending on how, if and when these cautions could fall.
Yep, that's very possible, definitely. And this is, this kind of typical for how things go with these guys. Nick Degroot loves to get up front and lead, and Henry tends to play strategy a little bit more.
Yeah, no, you were spot on there. So they definitely have their both the ways of how they do these races, and I say it works very well for both of them. They're obviously both very successful drivers, the 2 of them, throughout the course of the season here, and of course all the other leagues they run in as well. So they're always ones to watch week after week. But right now, though, it's going to be Carl Henderson again going to take the lead here in turn number 3. And then starting to creep into the frame right now, though, Andrew Wood. I say we also know Andrew's one of those guys that you always have to watch week in and week out as well. So yeah, so you can see actually this time Carl's going to protect the inside line. That's going to put Nick to his outside here, Steve. we'll see. We talked about, does that outside line have enough momentum to make something happen here? And right now, out of turn number 2, you see that momentum does shift to the advantage of that 89 car here as they headed back into 3.
It's the one problem. If you're not able to complete the pass coming off the turn, the person on the outside has the advantage of being in a draft with all those cars behind them.
Yeah, right now, say just up the line. Still, I think just a nose ahead for Carl Henderson. Again, I think this will be opportunities for these guys to kind of maybe learn what works, what doesn't work as we get towards crunch time in these races. But right now, though, it's going to still be Carl Henderson at the point. But now there goes the 89 car. He's going to get to the inside of that 42 car. And I think he's going to bring Andrew Wood along with him.
Yeah, it's looking that way. And Andrew tends to also be one of the more aggressive drivers in the league.
I mean, I think, again, like I said, we're looking at the groups of guys we have right now. You got Nick Degroot there with Andrew Wood, Henry Bennett, Charles Teed, Matt Wagner, Scott Rankin. Like, we're used to seeing these guys run up front pretty much all season long. Like you said, with Carl Henderson, this is his first season running with these guys. This is a really good learning experience, I feel like, for him. Get them comfortable with him, get him comfortable with them, and to, again, kind of show what you can do yourself. You see right there, makes a nice little move there on Nick. I say Nick wasn't holding the bottom completely, and so Carl took advantage of that as they hit into 3, and once again takes the point one more time.
Kyle, I'm going to turn it over to you for a few minutes. I need to take a quick break.
Sam Vorser will take things over. We'll look forward to seeing you back here. As right now we start lap number 30 of 90, so just 1/3 of the race complete here. And again, now Nick Degroot cycling back to the front in that 89 car right now. Like I said, these guys just kind of leapfrogging with one another. And we do need to mention, though, right now, 12 cars here in the lead pack right now. You got Yari Brupacher here trying to work, I believe that is with the 40 of Jim Herrick, to try to make sure they tag onto the back of this draft. We mentioned Gary Corley, unfortunately, didn't catch up to the lead pack during that after the pit stop cycle. However, is running lap times very solid comparable to the leaders, so isn't losing a lot of track time or track position. Just unfortunately, is down basically seconds to the leaders, and also can't save any fuel obviously right now. And unfortunately, we mentioned the 00 Don Reedy. He stayed out. He did lead a lap there, but then he went ahead and looks like he retired from the event. And then also Jimmy Drennan had something happen to him during this run as well. And he sits in the pits as well in the 99 car. Right now, looks like 3 laps down as they run. And for the lucky dog battle right now, AJ Hopson just has it ahead of that 48 of James Ledford. But you see, they have lost that draft between the two of them. So right now, though, say we'll stick up front. Cause right now, and also Craig Forsyth just hitting pit road in that 27 machine. Like I said, just day gone bad to worse for Craig, unfortunately. 2 laps down. I think this is a scheduled stop, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had to pit there because he took that wave around. So I think that was a planned stop for that number 27 machine. But like I said, just the night just not going the way that Craig was needing it to here this evening. Driver we haven't really talked about tonight, Benjamin Combs right now in the 8th position, +2 from his starting spot. I said he's got a couple cars right behind him for position battling. Now you got Jim Brooks and Josh Laston. Right now Jim has that position over Josh. I say right now these guys 9th and 10th, and then Jeff Highsong again. I was like sticking this one out, even with that knee pain in that 18 car, still holding on to this lead draft as well. So I don't think, like I said, I don't think we've seen the last of Jeff here either. I'd say if he's in contention at the end of this one, we will definitely see him make some moves here. But now up front, though, it's Andrew Wood now who's going to take over the point. And I think right now these guys are being pretty nice and playing nice with each other, being curious and kind of the give and take that you love to see with these races. I think, again, everybody just kind of wanting to put themselves in position once it comes time to make those critical pit strategies. And which will be coming up very shortly here, because right now we're just starting on lap number 35 now. They pitted on lap number 19. So I say we're going to start getting into that window shortly. So we'll have to keep on again. We believe it's going to be a 25 lap window roughly on fuel. So I say we should be seeing them around lap 45. So probably about 10 more, depending, of course, again, how aggressive some of these drivers are going to be. As I think we'll see that range probably from about 45 to lap 50 will most likely be our fuel window for these drivers here tonight. So we'll do that. We'll run through the field here a little bit, show our race leaders roughly as they run. Right now, Andrew Wood leading from in that 64 machine, plus +3 from his starting position. Behind him, Nick Degroot +6 from his starting spot. And then in the third position, you've got Carl Henderson. Mentioned him a few times here tonight, +14 from his starting position. Now working on that third spot as we just talked about that. And Henry Bennett sitting in fourth in that 007. I think Henry, again, I think he's playing the long game right here, just saving every drop of fuel out of that 007 car. I think he's got a plan, and he's going to stick with it until it's go time. And then I'm thinking pretty much the same here for fifth place Scott Rankin in that 156 car. Started in sixth, currently in fifth. But I think he's got something up his sleeves as well. I think these guys are all playing the long game right now, including also that 11 of Matt Wagner, the 50 of Charles Teed. So these two have been running pretty tight with one another. You see, again, Charles going to try to take a look here as they go into turn number 3. And gets a little tight here, has to roll out of the throttle just a little bit there. That's going to give Matt Wagner a little bit of momentum down the front stretch here. And also Matt's going to have the advantage of the draft. That's going to keep him ahead of that number 50. And speaking of that, right behind that 50 is the 51 of Jim Brooks, +3 in the 8th position right now. As I saw that incident right behind him, I believe also had that fast repair in that first incident, so he's going to have to keep this thing clean to the end. And then a good little battle right behind with Josh Last and Benjamin Combs. These guys fighting right inside the top 10, 9th and 10th respectively. Right now, Josh just as a nose ahead, but I think it's going to go to Benjamin Combs out of 4 with that draft and momentum. And then rounding out, that's our top 10. Then in the 11th, you've got the 18 of Jeff Highsong. Yari Brupacher right behind them in the 12th position. And then, as you mentioned, Gary Corley in 13th. Kind of off on his own, unfortunately. And so I think he might have to be one of the first to pit since he's been running this whole race on his own under this last restart. Right now sitting about, I believe, 24 or so seconds off the lead. And then right now our first car, actually only car at the moment, went down the number 48 of James Ledford. Say same thing for James, probably not too far away from pit stops for him. And then drivers that are more than one lap down right now, unfortunately for these guys, include the number 40 of Jim Herrick, who is now 2 laps down, as well as Michael Spell here in that 88, the 4 of AJ Hopson, and then the number 83 of Jack Walls. And we saw Craig Forsyth, he took that wave around, he's back out on track and actually has some draft, which is a huge break for him to help his speed maybe a little bit with that damage. We think he's still kind of having to limp around a little bit. So I'll say Craig just doing what he can here to try to salvage a finish here tonight. So now we'll jump back up front to our leaders, which again, as you can see right now, again, starting to switch back and forth between the number 64 and the number 89. Henry Bennett, he's brought himself now back up into that third spot. Again, I think he's starting to kind of put himself in the window, in the spot where he wants to be once it hits time for pit stops. Which again, I think is going to be in about the next 3 to 4 laps, depending on what the fuel save is for these guys. I think, like I said, I think we're going to see a mixed bag of that window. I think it could be about a 5-lap window from the first set of drivers to hit pit road to our second set, which right now, as you can see, right now it's bouncing again, still between Andrew Wood and Nick Degroot. Separation now between 7th and 8th, Jim Brooks, Josh Last. And again, Josh isn't out of the draft by any means. He'll still be good to go to catch that 51 machine. Let's say this is going to cost that number 09 car a little bit more fuel to have to chase that 51 back down here. We're going to listen as well, though, with that distance. Does he have to lift a little bit, or can he keep it to the floor? And you can hear, yeah, just a little bit of throttle release there. And I think, honestly, I think that makes the racing that much better when these guys have to get out of the throttle. So I think off throttle time always a key for good races here. As I'm watching one driver here duck straight to the inside there, that's Nick Degroot. Thought it might be a hint at a pit stop, but it is not. He still stays out here as we're going to cross around to lap number 44. Again, I think that pit window is going to be opening very soon here for our leaders. I do think what we're seeing up front, though, is these leaders, say with Nick Degroot, Andrew, they are working together here, I think, trying to keep the pace up, though. Like I said, if they can do that, that helps prevent that third place car from getting too big of a run on them. And so I think that's what they're doing right now, is kind of trying to keep the race between the two of them as they run. Again, they know even with this pit stop here in just a few more laps, they're going to have to make one more stop afterwards. And it won't matter if you're full save, if you're full rich. I think the window is going to be the same. It's going to be 2 stops. It's just the length of that second stop might be a little shorter if these guys can stretch this first run here a little bit further than the rest around them. So we'll have to wait and see. And actually, we got Carl Henderson. He's dropping way back here in that 42 car. Not sure if he had a moment or not, but he's dropped way back here these last couple of laps here. So say for Carl, might have to start thinking about his pit stop here very shortly, as we're going to start lap number 46 right now, which is just the halfway point of this race. But yeah, unfortunately, Carl, though, was, like I said, saw him in that top 3 or so, now falls back into that 11th spot. So possibly a little bit of damage for that 42 car. Can't tell anything obvious here, but if so, this might be the time for him to go ahead and try to use that fast repair during the green flag pit stop. And it looks like Nick Degroot, yep, he's going to be the first to hit pit road in that number 89 car, going to come in right behind Gary Corley. Looks like a nice and smooth entry for Nick here, so I don't think any troubles for him to for any pit penalties. But now he's going to need this to stay green. Do need to mention also bringing in with him is also Carl Henderson in that lead pack as well. So we talked about Carl. He had dropped back a little bit. Now he hits pit road as well in that 42 car. And I think that window's going to start opening up very quickly for the rest of the field here. This is going to be that very critical juncture of this race where these guys have to be very careful. And right now, actually, these guys are going all a little further. Right now, it's just the 89 car, Nick Degroot, that has pitted. And you're going to see him right now coming out of pit road as the field's going to swing right on by him. And that's going to put Nick Degroot right now 1 lap down. Gary Corley puts him 2 down. They may be able to merge on with the draft here, so maybe help him pick up some speed right off the bat, which is always a good thing, as I think we're going to see our next set of pit stops. So I think Andrew Wood looks like he's going to be the next one in here. Yeah, here comes Andrew Wood. He's going to bring Matt Wagner, Jim Brooks. Oh, Gary Corley almost gets into the back of Jim there. He's also going to bring Josh Laston and Yari Brupacher as well. So it looks like about 5 drivers here hitting pit road. Oh, as I say, that caution's out as they hit pit road. And I think it is for the 70. It is. It's for the 7 of Gary Corley right in the middle of that pit stop cycle. It's going to be tough for Nick Degroot. That's going to put him a lap down along with Carl Henderson. But this could actually be a golden opportunity for these drivers right here. If they can get out of the pit road here in front of Henry Bennett, which you see they're all starting to head out of pit road right now, it's going to be very tight. A lot of drivers are also going to start saving fuel here, but I think they're going to be able to win the race out of pit road. So this is always gets a little sketchy. These guys are going to have to be very careful to see if they can make this happen, if they get trapped a lap down or not. But now we talked about the danger of pitting early, and that's exactly what we see here. That caution comes out at just the wrong time for some, and might be about perfect for others here.
I'm back now.
Welcome back, Mr. Steve. As I see, we're just got a yellow during pit stop cycles, which is never what you want as a racer, as it's going to completely shake things up here.
Yeah, I'm noticing, let's see, Nick Degroot and Carl Henderson right now, at least on my standings, showing as 1 lap down. I'm guessing there are 2 that pitted early.
Yes, yeah, Nick Degroot, Carl Henderson, and pitted a lap or 2 before this caution came out. And then from Matt Wagner, Andrew Wood, Matt Wagner, Jim Brooks, Josh Laston, Yari Brupacher, they all had hit pit road as the caution came out. So it could be very interesting to see how this is all going to shake out here. But what we are going to see is we're going to see all those drivers that stayed out. They're all going to hit pit road right now. And so we'll have to see, because sometimes when you have those cautions under pit stop cycles, sometimes it really throws the field off here. So we'll have to wait and see if indeed Andrew Wood's going to cycle around as our race leader. Sometimes it holds them behind those guys that pit under yellow.
So it looks like Nick Degroot just got the lucky dog, and I'm guessing Carl Henderson is going to take the wave around.
Yeah, Carl's going to stay out here. Like you said, I think he'll take the wave around. Right now, and you see Andrew Wood, he's going to cycle around to the front here because it's going to be Henry Bennett. He'll be the first to leave pit road, but we'll come out behind all those other guys that pitted on 48. But again, doesn't change anything here. We're still pretty much going to be needing 1 stop to the end. However, now it's strategy time, Steve, because they're going to be restarting this race probably with about, let's say, 37 most likely, 38, 37 to go. It's going to still be about, we think, maybe about 7 laps short, even if they go full lean. But does somebody maybe try that gamble and try to stretch it as far as they can to see if maybe something like this happens once more?
Yeah, I'm thinking that nobody's going to be able to stretch it that far.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same for as well, Steve. But we'll have to wait and see. Well, again, we have to see as well. I think at this point it does look like everything's coming out clear for Andrew Wood. Looks like he is going to hold on to that position. He's going to restart now as our race leader. We do have a handful of drivers, like I said. Carl Henderson, he's out in front of the leaders. That'll put him back onto the lead lap. Nick Degroot got the lucky dog, so he just serviced his car. Now he's heading back out on track. Then we also have a few drivers trying to get at least a lap back, which include AJ Hopson. He was 2 down. This will put him to just 1 lap down, which is going to be a huge opportunity for him as well. You see Michael Spell going on by there as well. And you see it looks like Jack Walls, and then it'll be Andrew Wood cycle out behind our pace car here. And actually, Andrew's going to cycle past the pace car, which, yeah, so he's going to need to back it down here because he should be our race leader. Yeah, there he goes. He backs it down. I say that was going to get a little confusing if he took off there as well, because then the whole field would be pretty much on the tail in the lead lap there.
I wonder did he surprise himself?
I mean, yeah, the only thing though about that though, Steve, that little bit, even though it's not a lot though, that little bit of extra throttle that he does there, that's going to burn a little bit of fuel on this, on that 64 car, which is, I mean, you never know, but that could be just enough to make him have to pit just that little bit earlier than the rest of these guys behind him, even on the same pit cycle.
So let's see, I'm noticing that Jim Brooks up to 3rd. Josh Blaston, who is Carl Henderson's partner in crime in the broadcast booth on my Sunday races, he's up to 4th. Yari Brubacher up to 5th.
Yeah, I mean, those guys that pitted there right as that caution came out, they were in the pits. They didn't enter close to the road or anything, so I mean, it was pretty much the perfect opportunity for them. So now it's going to be up to Andrew Wood here to get a good restart with Matt Wagner right behind him. You see he gets a great launch on that 11 car. But yeah, let's say it's going to put a few of these guys who were in this nice little open pack there, like Henry Bennett, Scott Rankin, Charles Teed, back a little further than they've really been all race here. So and again, with the pit window still, say we're at 38 to go here, Steve. We know everybody cannot make it to the end. But I see, like you talked about Jim Brooks, though, he is ready on this one, Steve. He is right on the back of that 11 car Matt Wagner, and Matt's going to make a move here under Andrew Wood here into turn 3. I wonder if Jim's going to maybe try to pick up a little bit of aggression here, maybe try to get a lap as well, take advantage of that track position that he's got right now.
And we got a leapfrog going on up here.
Yes, and that's going to make life a little more challenging for that 51 car if he wants to make that happen right now. Looks like he's going to just kind of stay in cruise control here. I think opting not to get too aggressive. Like you said, you saw him there kind of staggering off in that just enough to keep the clean air on the front nose of that 51. And yeah, these guys are going to do that leapfrog game just like you talked about, Steve. That's going to keep the pace of this race up and should make it just that little bit more difficult for drivers like Yari Brubacher, or Henry Bennett, should say, Scott Rankin, to be able to get around drivers like Yari Brubacher and company. Although you can see Henry's definitely working on it. He's trying to get around Josh Lassen right now. And as I say that, Henry Bennett runs the fastest lap of the race here on this restart that last time by. Last lap or so, though, Matt Wagner didn't opt to jump around the 64 car. We'll see if he does now. Yeah, there he goes. Wasn't sure if maybe Matt decided to start doing a little bit more fuel save, but no, they're going to continue that leapfrog like we talked about. But like you can see, though, right now, we've got, again, pretty much the top 9 drivers, it looks like, all pretty much lockstep with one another here. Looks like Jim got a little tight there, possibly out of turn 2, Steve. That's going to open the door here now for Henry Bennett, Yari Brubacher. They're starting to close the gap. And then another driver that got that waiver, or sorry, the lucky dog, Nick Degroot, he is now around. He ran his fastest lap, or actually, I'm sorry, the fastest lap of the race in that 89 car, trying to keep touch with these guys because right now he's about 9/10 of a second off of Jeff Highsong, which again, you want to stay within about that 1 second window for the draft.
I noticed that Yari is having kind of the same problem that I had in practice. He's tried a couple times to make a pass on the inside, and the first time he gained a couple spots when they went into the turn, and then he lost it all. And this time he actually lost another spot, and so he's having a rough time completing passes. And I'm sure, you know, when you get back where he is right now, the aero push is much worse than what the second place or third place car is experiencing.
Yeah, I mean, you can see he was almost running the wall there in 1 and 2 to try to keep that cleaner on the front wing of that 49 machine as he gets right onto the back there of Henry Bennett, but not enough to do so. Do anything with it, and like we talked about, maybe try to take advantage of that clean air, and that's exactly what Jim Brooks is going to do here, Steve. He's going to come out of forward here with the lead and should be able to hang on here. He's going to get a lap lead himself in that 51 machine. So saying looks like now it's going to be Andrew Woods going to actually try to work the top side here through 1 and 2. We've seen a little earlier tonight as well.
And he almost.
What I did like there from the 51 though, Steve, is he didn't go and run that white line. I think if you're going to run the low line, I think you want to run right where he is right there. You want to run that seam basically. I think when you get a little lower, that the banking is just a little flatter, you lose a little bit of speed there. And so I think right now what Jim is doing here is keeping that car where it's going to handle the best, but then also doesn't burn off a lot of momentum. You can see he kind of enters at the outer part of the seam, then keeps it down pretty much right at the seam. I think if you're going to run the low side, I think that's where you need to run your car to make the most speed. But right now, you see now Andrew Wood's going to get that momentum that he's going to take right here back in 3.
Yeah, I think he's going to make it work.
Yeah, again, I mean, we're still, let's say, we're just in the outer window. Say now actually going to be 30 to go. I think these guys are right on the outside window. This is full fuel save. This is probably about in the fuel window they can make it. But you know these drivers, I think the earliest they pit is going to be in about 5 more laps here, probably about 25 to go. But then again, look at Jim here. He's going to steal some draft off of that 40 of Jim Herrick. Jim wants nothing of it. He's like, I'm just going to go straight to the apron here, boys. You guys go on by here. I don't want any part of this battle up front here. Say Jim, unfortunately, caught in the 3 incidents. He's multiple laps down. And say Jim Brooks trying to steal any draft he could off that 40 car, and say the 40 decided, yeah, you just do you. Don't worry about me right now.
I know how that feels if you're Jim Brooks also, because you see that car you can get a draft off of, thinking I'm going to take advantage of that, and then he pulls off the track and you lose your draft.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I remember we were talking about just a few laps ago, Nick Degroot being on the edge of catching the draft, Steve. He's now up into that 4th position. You look at Henry Bennett, he just made a 2-for-1 pass there. Jumps around Jim Brooks, jumps around Andrew Wood. He takes the point there at the line. But now here comes Jim. He's going to try to take the lead on back. But here comes again the 89 of Nick Degroot. He's going to try to do the same here. Runs a little lower here in 1, running that lower line that we talked about. But he's going to cycle out of turn number 2 back in that 2nd spot.
And nobody is in fuel save mode right now.
There's no fuel save going on right now, but do notice that we have lost a few drivers from this lead pack, unfortunately. We got Carl Henderson and Benjamin Combs in 11th and 12th. They're about 3 seconds off of Charles Teed. So unfortunately, they are not in the positions they'd like to be in at this point in the race, let's say, because now they're in a tough spot right now. Right now, the last driver in the lead pack here is Josh Laston in that 10th spot. Like I said, I think, like you said, Steve, I think Josh and Charles T, Jeff Highsong, I think these guys are all doing that fuel strategy like we talked about. They're going to let Jim and everybody, let them run this race, let them run aggressive. Right now, these guys just want to kind of run their own race. But what I want to see here, though, do we see any alternate strategy? Do we see anybody decide, hey, let's pit maybe at that pit window? Yes, you risk going a lap down, but does that maybe be a benefit for you in the long run? So I say the question is going to be, of course, the lap times by yourself versus in the pack. How much time do you lose when you're off on your own here?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's probably a lot. I think that strategy would not work out. Unless you have a few other cars, just like at a Talladega race. If you have a few cars that go with you that you can draft with when you come out, I think that would work. But going in by yourself, probably not.
So I was saying right now we're at 25 to go, Steve. So I feel like pretty safely now this is the window where these drivers can make it to the end should they choose to. But you're right, though. I mean, and that might be something else. I mean, we know a lot of these drivers, they share Discord channels with each other. They're in communication with each other. Does anybody say, hey, if we hit here, we come out together, we could try doing the leapfrog game. We can maybe put this race in between the two of us. Do we maybe see that strategy come out in play here tonight? But so far, it looks like everybody's just going to run this one out here a ways further. Because, again, 90-lap race. These guys all pitted around lap number 48 to 50. So if we give him that 25 lap window, that's going to be pitting at about, what, 20 to go, if I'm not mistaken, Steve. Actually, I think I am mistaken. It'd be more like 15 to go now that I'm thinking, if I have my math right. Yeah, lap 75-ish. So yeah, about 15 to go would probably be about the furthest that, I should say, the furthest on aggression that you can go. If you stretch it all the way, if these guys are saving, maybe trying to run that 30 laps, I think they could go to 10 to go on fuel. But again, there are a few drivers there, Steve, like Jim Brooks here. He had to pit on 48 there when the yellow came out. So he can go a little bit less distance than like a Nick Degroot, Henry Bennett, them pitting at lap 50. So I say they've probably got maybe a lap or so on that 51 car the way they're running right now.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there, Gael.
The one who's unfortunately in a tough spot is Carl Henderson, because he's lost touch of the draft, and he pitted at 46 and had to take the waiver on Steve. So he's going to have to pit even earlier than these guys, and again, still sitting about 3.5 seconds off those guys in front, which right now is Charles Teed in the 10th position. But yeah, right now these guys definitely aren't showing any signs of wanting to hit pit road early, which is, it was kind of, I was toying with the idea of it, but like you said, I don't know what the pace is. Because let's say we can look at lap times of drivers that are maybe off on their own, but I don't know if they have damage or not. So we don't know what an accurate speed is right now. It looks like 32.6, 32.7 is about the speed of these guys that are doing this little tandem leapfrog racing. I'm not sure what the speed would be for these guys that are running off on their own, because of course, again, they could be nursing some damage like we saw earlier with Craig Forsyth.
Well, I think, let's see. Carl Henderson is running with Benjamin Combs. They're doing a little leapfrog, I see. I think that this little pack right here is probably representative of what would happen if you have a 4-car pack trying to run down a much bigger pack.
Yeah, and I'm saying if that's the case, you're right, though, Steve. They're right. Actually, it was Carl last time. I was at 32.73, 32.59 for Benjamin Combs, though. So, I mean, with a smaller group, it looks like it could be feasible. I'm looking at James Ledford. He's off on his own right now. He's running 33 flats, 33.06 for Craig Forsyth, who I do believe is nursing some damage. So, actually, we got Nick Degroot here, Steve. He's going to be the first to pit here. He's pitting at 19 to go. So this is going to be the strategy starting to kick off with our championship leader.
Okay. I'm a little surprised if he's pitting by himself there.
But it might be one of those things, if you can pit by yourself, Steve, you can get a little more pit entry and you maybe steal a couple tenths here and there. We saw last time it worked out for him. He was able to cycle out right with the lead pack, and that's my thought, Steve. If you can exit the pits with this lead pack here, this could put you in a really great spot because you're still going to have the draft. So we're actually going to jump to the back of Nick Degroot. We're going to watch him exit pit road because you can see here these leaders come with a huge head of steam. But can he tag onto the back of that number 50 of Charles Teed? I think that's going to be the biggest potential here to change the outcome of his race, which it looks like he's easily going to be able to tag onto the back of these guys.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that'll work out really nicely.
So now we have to wait to see. We have to see who's going to be our next driver to pit, because that's going to be I think the big question mark. Nick Degroot's pit stop, Steve, 8.15 seconds. So that's a 4 tires and fuel stop for Nick for sure. No strategy or anything like that there. He's going with the tires and fuel. I don't think we'll see anybody do fuel only. I think it's just too much fuel and too much to risk with old tires. Should we be able to get this whole pit stop cycle done under green?
Man, Nick did a Kyle Larson run. Through 1 and 2, like right up by the wall, and almost hit it. We got a bunch of people coming in the pits now.
Yeah, you got 3 coming together. You got Matt Wagner, Scott Rankin, Josh Laston, Carl Henderson tagging on just a little bit behind them, trying to make up some track position here. So I think you'll have 3 of them potentially together here, but that's going to be the question now. Do they come out with one another, or do we see the potential of them? Does maybe Nick able to jump in front of them or not? So we'll have to wait and see, because right now you can see that the pace is going to slow down because the field is getting a little smaller. It looks like Jim Brooks, he's going to hit it right here in the 51. Oh, he gets loose, but can he save? No, he catches the inside wall, just barely caught it. That's going to be enough damage, I think. Yeah, that's suspension damage. That's race done for Jim, unfortunately. As they already had to use his fast repair, so unfortunately a mistake for the 51 car is going to put him out of the running. But now, again, we talked about Nick Degroot. Look at this, Steve. He's already unlapped himself around the 007 of Henry Bennett here. You've got Henry Bennett, Andrew Wood, and Jeff Highsong right now are the 3 remaining drivers in this lead pack. Charles Teed about a second off of them. Do we see any of them hit pit road? We do. It's going to be Andrew Wood hitting pit road. But honestly, I think they lost probably a little bit too much time right now. But right now, I think Catbird's seats, if I'm not mistaken here, Steve, is Nick Degroot, because look where he is, and the next guy that pitted there was Scott Rankin. He's got a pretty good margin on him.
Yeah, I think definitely. The big question now is going to be, where does Andrew Wood come out in relation to these guys? And Henry Bennett still has to pit as well.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing I feel like, though, is I think the pace is now these guys kind of splitting up. I say without a yellow, I think this has really gotten into the hands of this 89 car. So you see actually right there, Andrew Wood just left pit road, Steve, but at that point, Nick's going to be multiple seconds ahead of him here because he's already down the backstretch while the 64 car is just now exiting off the backstretch there. So I mean, yeah, if you're Nick here, if this thing stays green, you are looking very pretty depending on if these guys can get with each other and start drafting. But right now, I think Nick has played this early pit strategy to perfection.
Yeah, I think definitely. And the advantage he had when he came out of the pits is there was a large pack of cars that were spread out far enough that he was able to latch onto them. Whereas, when Andrew Wood came out, it was just, 3 cars here, 2 cars there. So that stuck him a ways back. But I think the problem that Nick Degroot's going to have here is when Henry Bennett pits,
which is
not
right
really
now.
Yeah, now
Jeff Highsong with him and Charles Teed.
Yep, and now Nick's out there by himself. He doesn't have a draft, so the people behind him are definitely going to reel him in.
Yeah, the question, like you said, it's going to be the intervals between them. So right now, like you said, Nick Degroot, he's got about, I believe, 1.2 second lead. You see now he's trying to break the draft of Scott Rankin. But like I said, the problem for Scott, though, is he's going to start for Nick, is Scott and Andrew, they're about to get hooked up. I believe Josh Laston, he's going to be able to tag onto the back of these guys as well. Matt Wagner might be able to. But now it's going to be all about this pit exit. What does Henry do here? Can he get himself up to speed to be in the mix? And it looks like Henry has had a great pit stop. Oh, Steve, he gambled. We talked about nobody doing the fuel-only stop. Henry did it. 5.43 seconds, and he's going to cycle out just in front of Nick Degroot here. Older tires, but he's going to have that track position here.
Yeah, that was a great move on his part. Now let's see if he can hang in there. I think he will be able to.
Yeah, I think tires, now that he's got, I said the pit exit, that was going to be the hardest part there. But he took the fuel-only stop, Steve. He gains about, 3 seconds of pit stop time with that. And look at that, already going underneath Nick Degroot. And I think this also might be them trying to slow down that gain from these guys behind him. Now they're going to, again, do that leapfrog battle. Can they separate themselves from Andrew Wood, Scott Rankin, Josh Laston and company? Because now it's going to be, it looks like about a 7-car pack should they all hook back up to one another. Unfortunately, yeah. Charles Teed, not the pit stop he needed. I think it looks like actually Charles, he tried fuel only as well, Steve. But I think may have not got quite the pit exit he needed. He's down about almost 3 seconds down off of Matt Wagner. And as they say, that Matt Wagner fastest lap of the race in that 11 car. So these guys are all trying to jockey for position. You can see the 09 and the 18 trying to work with the 11 as well. Because right now they're about 0.8 off of off of Scott Rankin. So like I said, a few more laps here, Steve. This could be a 7-car battle for the win.
And I'll tell you, for having much older tires, Henry Bennett is still able to race with these guys and make passes on the inside and hold it. So it's going to be a very racy finish up front.
Yeah, this is going to get good. I'm saying, again, you've got some of the best right now up front here. I say you've got Nick Degroot, our championship leader, Henry Bennett, our champion last season. Andrew Wood probably could have been champion if not for having to miss a few races. You got Scott Rankin right here, who's pretty much taken this season by storm, these last few races that he's been a part of. And then, like I said, just that next group back, who they are catching this group in front. You got Jeff Highsong, Matt Wagner, Josh Laston. again, we know Matt Wagner and Jeff Highsong. We know they can win races. Again, for Josh Lassen, this is his first season with these guys. Like you said, same with Carl Henderson, but he is learning a lot and he's able to do a lot right now. So I wouldn't put him out of this one. I'd say probably one of the dark horse candidates for the win here tonight. But honestly, any of these top 70, you can make the right move at the right time. I mean, you're going to be in a great spot to win this race because right now we're already down to 6 laps left. All right, so Steve, I'm going to put on your thinking cap here, as it looks like it is going to be 7 cars here. If we can make this green to the end, where do you want to position yourself? Do you want to be the leader on the white flag? Do you want to be second? What do we think is the best position to have yourself in to try to win this race? Because now it's going to be all about making the right move at the right time to win this race tonight.
I'm pretty sure I want to be the leader and take the low line all the way around the track and make the second place guy try and pass me on the outside.
We have seen that work a little bit before, so right now they aren't doing it yet. You can see, and there goes 3 wide here for the lead here. It's going to be Nick Degroot on the bottom, Andrew Wood in the middle, Bennett on the top. As they come through 3, it's going to pretty much go inverse here. It's going to be Nick Degroot that's going to take over the point over Andrew Wood. Then Henry Bennett drops the 3rd. And like I said, here comes Jeff Highsong. He's on the move as well in that number 18 machine. He is right in the thick of this thing as well. And again, it's brought Scott Wagner right into the mix as well. And then Josh Lassen right now just about a half a second off, but definitely don't count him out if he can get the right move, right momentum at the right time. He'll definitely be in contention for this one tonight too.
And Nick Degroot has already started the strategy of protecting the low line.
I think it's too soon, Steve. I think he's going to need to wait a little bit more, but you're right, though. He's right on that white line. You cannot pass below that line, but you're right. He is definitely starting to play that protect game as we got 3 to go. And again, this is all based on this going green to the end, Steve, because if there's a yellow, as you see right there, Nick going low there, it's going to wash that car up. So if you can get the momentum, you can maybe try to cut underneath that 89 car because he's going to lose a lot of momentum doing that, hugging that inside line, that white line like he's doing. You can see Henry trying to keep him pinned to the bottom.
I'm really impressed at what Henry's doing with those old tires.
Yeah, so Henry's in a good spot. I said now it's going to be all about, can Henry keep the momentum up and keep the clean air on his nose, I think, too. I think that's going to be also crucial. I'm watching that 3rd line here. It's Jeff Highsong. He's going to try to do the big top. Oh, a little bit of contact possibly or net code between the 007 and the 89 car. I was going to say Jeff Highsong was trying to do the elevator there, Steve, top to bottom. He gets just a nose ahead here entering turn number 3. Not enough to take the lead, though. As right now we're at 2 to go, going to come across here. If we can get the white flag, this will be the final lap of the race. And saying that at this point it's going to be who gets to the line first. And right now it's still Nick Degroot holding on to it.
Here comes Andrew Wood through the middle.
Andrew through the middle, Steve. He said he saw just an opening in the window. He's going to take it. Now can he get the momentum on the exit? Because again, Nick is having to hug that inside line very tight. And Andrew Wood's going to take the lead out of turn number 2. But now here comes Jeff Highsong trying to pinch that number 64 to the inside line. Can Jeff do something that's going to pull off this win out of turn number 3 and 4?
And Matt Wagner flying around on the outside. I don't think he's going to make it, but man, he really came flying up there.
Yeah, as they come out of 4 right now, it looks at the line. It's going to be a photo finish. I think it's going to be Andrew Wood just getting the win over Jeff Highsong. Matt Wagner is going to jump up into the 3rd position. Nick Degroot 4th, Scott Rankin 5th, Josh Lassen in 6th. Unfortunately, that contact, we saw maybe a little bit of net code. Not 100% sure. That's going to put Henry Bennett in the 7th position. And then, let's say, further on back, you got Charles Teed, Benjamin Combs, Carl Henderson rounding out the top 10. But let's say we were worried about the pinning the inside down there, Steve, and that's exactly what happened. It cost the momentum, and Andrew Wood saw that. He capitalized on it, was able to pounce, but still almost had a chance to get that attack there from Jeff Highsong. Almost was able to grab that win here tonight. Okay, we'll jump back. We're going to take one more look at this coming to the finish because I want to see how close it was between the 2 of them here. So we're going to watch from Jeff Highsong here. As you can see, he's got the momentum here. He's trying to make a move out of turn number 4. You see he tries to steal a little bit of draft there, then jumps up to the top. And then, but let's say right now you see the 64 doing everything right here, protecting that inside line. And then we'll watch, see how close it was at the start-finish line. So, like I said, I think it was about 100th of a second, if I'm not mistaken. But Andrew Wood going to pull off the win this evening.
I just, wonder for Nick Degroot how much momentum it cost him when him and Henry Bennett touched each other.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point as well, Steve. It's really hard to say, but you're right. I mean, that could have also cost him a little bit of momentum there as well. But man, just a great battle of these guys. Like I said, they're all dicing out. Everything was looking great for Nick, like we talked about, Steve. But then, like you had mentioned, those guys are going to be able to get lined up and chase that 89 back down. So he had a little bit of breathing room, but then just wasn't enough there at the end. So let's pull up our final results for tonight before we get to our interviews. It's going to be Andrew Wood over Jeff Highsong by 9,000ths of a second. Matt Wagner there in third. Nick DeGroot, Scott Rankin rounding out our top five. 6th through 10th, you got Josh Lassen, Henry Bennett, Charles Teed, Benjamin Combs, and Carl Henderson. 11th through 18th, you've got Yari Brupacher, AJ Hopson, Jack Walls, James Ledford, Craig Forsyth, Jim Brooks, Michael Spell, and Jim Herrick. And the final finishers tonight were Gary Corley, Jimmy Drynan, and Don Reedy in the 21st position. All right, Steve, with that, we got to chat with some drivers here. We're going to kick things off with our third place finisher. And I'll say we're talking about drivers that are sticking it out. Say this one's kind of trying to, I think, fight off a cold here tonight. But say was talking to him pre-race and was sounding a little bit rough, but say that number 11 of Matt Wagner able to stick it out. Started third, finished third. You're in the hunting there at the end, Matt. Say just couldn't maybe make the right move that you needed to at the right time to try to grab the win. But I mean, great result tonight. But what do you feel like you maybe could have, should have done different to be able to try to make a jump at Andrew and Jeff there?
Oh, I wouldn't have changed a thing. When they were coming to the line, it looked like they were going to get together, and I had a run coming, and it forced me to check up, and I'd rather cross the line with a non-wrecked race car and finish third instead of finishing like 8th or 10th.
I didn't realize you had to check up, Matt, but I saw you with a tremendous amount of momentum on the outside and wondered if you're going to be able to do anything with that.
Yeah, Jeff and Andrew, it was really scary coming to the line because they both knocked heads with each other. Oh, that was a very scary moment there, but I'm happy with third. Oh, there was also a tense moment coming out of the pits. Me and Josh Lasnik both crossed the line first, which I thought ended my race. It really did coming out of the pits, and I lost like 2-3 seconds. And with the help of the draft, with Henry and Charles and them coming out of the pits, it kind of helped me out.
Yeah, you had to come from a little bit of a ways back, right? We noticed that, after everybody had cycled through pit stops, that there was, 2 cars together, then a little gap and 3 cars and another gap and 2 cars. And we kind of figured that it was going to close up, but it closed up more than maybe I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, that was mostly due to Jeff Highsong and Andrew Wood, really. Coming down the back straight, I was like, 3 seconds in like a matter of like 3 or 4 laps. So I'm right on their tailgate, and I'm like, oh, let's go. Let's do this.
So the other thing we got to mention though is that the pit strategy on that final stop too, Matt. So we saw Nick DeGroot, he pitted fairly early compared to the rest of you guys. But then once everybody started cycling through, I mean, he was out by about a second. When you saw him cycle out in your guys' draft after the pit stops, did that change any of your ideas? Maybe think about maybe pitting a little earlier, see if you could then jump in that lead pack as well, or did you just not want to risk the potential of getting trapped lap down if there was a yellow?
You hit the nail on the head there, because the last caution we had was I'm guessing someone spun out of the pits. If I had to guess, I didn't want that to happen to me because I know exactly how that feels like. And there's been multiple races where it cost me multiple wins of going a lap down and leading the most laps, and that's just horrible. And being with those guys at the end was just, I was just glad to get there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun watching you guys battle out there. It seemed like, who was going to have the right move at the right time. I mean, we talked about it as well. We were a little nervous about the Nick kind of hugging the inside line like he did, so it kind of looked like it was costing momentum on the exits there. But yeah, just a great job by all of you guys. I'll say we had no idea it was gonna be that between you and the top six, top seven there at the end. It was pretty much anybody's guess. So just way to go to get up into contention there, Matt. It was a great run for you tonight. Definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts you'd like to give.
The shouts. I'd like to thank you guys. You guys do an excellent job broadcasting. Um, HyperX Area 51 putting on the a show here. Oh, I had so much fun. Troy Lee Designs and everybody. It's just awesome.
I'll enjoy this one, Matt. Rest up a little bit too. So hopefully hopefully this helps you start feeling a little bit better. And yeah, just great job tonight, man. Look forward to catching you here soon.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
You too, Matt. Great job.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
All right, so now we're gonna jump to our second place finisher. And that is going to be the number 18 of Jeff Highsong. And Steve, I mean, we talked about going into tonight. I say busted up knee and all. I say we're still gonna have to keep an eye out for this guy. And I say he did not prove us wrong here tonight. I say it was in contention all the way through. And I'm guessing those last handful of laps there, Jeff, you probably completely forgot about that knee going after that win here tonight.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about it halfway through the race once we kind of got going there. Now it's kind of stiff, but I'll get through it. That was a blast. I got to say that, though.
Was it the right knee or the left knee?
Oh, it was the right knee.
Okay. So that definitely got to work out.
Yeah, if we were at a road course or a short oval, I probably would not have ran tonight.
Well, you'll go, Steve. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you'll definitely feel it tonight and tomorrow. So get the ice pack or the heating pad out, whatever it takes, and hopefully by next week it'll be back to normal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and say so. Yeah, take us through those final laps because I mean, we saw you had to kind of come from the back just a little bit, had to make that big charge to catch up to Matt or not to Matt. I'm sorry, but to Nick and Andrew and Henry and company there. But then once you did, I mean, you were just able to find the moves to make to find those, put yourself in that position to have the runs. We saw you run the top there at the coming through 1 and 2, I believe it was, and like I saw it mentioned in the chat that the little bit of contact or net code possibly between Nick and Henry there. Let's say we're kind of talking, you're kind of making the elevator move where you kind of run the top and get that big arc down and get the big exit off those guys. I'll say probably couldn't have timed that any better to avoid that situation. And then that battle between you and Andrew at the end there, so just about had the momentum that you needed to clear him at the line. But I mean, just take us through those laps. I mean, what was going through your mind when you were having a chance to try to grab that win?
I mean, the heart was racing there at the end when there was the net code or contact, whatever it was. I think it was net code. Yeah, I almost had a heart attack when I saw Henry go across the track, and I was just like, thank God I wasn't running the top right then. But then I was just trying to climb back up to the front and see if I couldn't position the car in the right place on the last lap, but I just couldn't get it done.
Is there anything that you feel you could have done differently to get that extra, few tenths of a second to win that one?
Maybe just get the car up front a little bit sooner. I thought I got back down and got the draft, and that bottom seems a little squirrely. So I don't know if Andrew got a little squirrely or just came up to block a little bit because I had to go up the track, and that seemed to kill what momentum I had got from pulling down behind him. So either way, I mean, it was a blast. I'd have loved to get up there, but yeah, it was a fun one.
Yeah, it was definitely a great race between all of you. I mean, like I said, at one point it was 7 of you guys battling out for the win after the pit stop cycle. So it was definitely a battle all race long. Saying it wasn't an easy one, obviously. So you had to work your way up from, I believe it was 14th to grab that second spot tonight. So you definitely had to do a fair share of passing tonight as well. So yeah, just great job tonight, Jeff. Like I said, sticking it out even with the sore knee. Like Steve said, you'll probably be feeling a little bit more after you're done here, but I'm sure wasn't thinking about it there at the time. So just hats off, man. Great job, and definitely want to give you the floor though. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that second place tonight?
Just thanks to Green White Checker TV. Thanks to you guys for the great job you do. Big shout out to the family. Love you guys. My son in California. Love you. And then awesome job to those guys racing up front there. That was a blast. I mean, it was clean except for the netcode incident. I mean, that happens sometimes, but I mean, that was about as fun as you can get racing that close.
Yeah, so unfortunate. It's kind of the nature of the beast with online racing with these cars from time to time as well. But yeah, just hats off, Jeff. I'll say definitely enjoy this one. Rest up a little bit, and then look forward to seeing you next week, sir.
Yep. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, great run.
All right, Steve, that's going to leave one person left to chat with, and that's going to be our race winner here tonight, and that's going to be the 64 of Andrew Wood. So we're going to pull Andrew on in here because they'll say it looked like it was going to take a lot to get Nick off the bottom and try to get the win there, but say you were able to get that momentum coming out of turn number 2, get in front there and clear that 89 car, and then from there, say then you had to play the defense at the end. I mean, just take us through. Say, and I think the biggest move that you did there is we're kind of looking at it now was that 3 wide here coming to the white flag to get underneath Jeff Highsong to put yourself in that contention, in that best spot you could have been to try to get that win here tonight.
Yeah, thanks. I was trying my best to play around with some potential scenarios for the end of the race there because I came out in third behind Henry and Nick, and both of them were going to be, swapping and stuff, and it's very hard for the third place person to get involved. So I spent a little bit studying and trying to see what I could do to maybe get some advantage just based on how the car was driving. I tried that 3 wide through the middle with them the first time as just kind of like a test, and I knew that that would be probably the only opportunity I would have to get by just based on the tires and the lines that we were taking. So I was just going to say, hope that lap 100 comes around and I have the opportunity to do it again. And Nick was a little bit, I'm kind of surprised he took the same line, just hugging the bottom because he saw what I was able to do the last time and it didn't really work out for him there. And he had that incident with Henry too. It's just very, very tough to hold the bottom in turn 1 with based on how the cars were driving tonight.
Andrew, when you were, back in third or fourth place and having to make that move through the middle, one thing I noticed when I was out there practicing with you guys, I couldn't stay full throttle even after I made some adjustments to the chassis. I couldn't stay full throttle through the turns without worrying about pushing out on exit and hitting the wall. So, you're stuck between 2 cars. You have to worry about pushing out and hitting a car. So were you playing with the gas? What did you do to be able to get that momentum and keep it?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're getting at because I was thinking the same thing in practice as well. I wasn't able really to get the hammer down through the corners, especially if I was behind cars. But it's really just trying to guess where the clean air is going to be for the most part. If you're stuck directly behind a car, there's no way you're going to make it through the corner without any sort of lift. But yeah, if you could find just a lane around with the seam and keep your line through the seam, and there's no car there to disrupt your air, then it'll work out. Plus the tools in the car, the weight jacker helps a little bit, especially mid corner, sneaks you down underneath the car where there might be some cleaner air.
Yeah, I never quite figured out exactly. This is the first time I've really played with that stuff, and I never quite figured out what was the right numbers, but I definitely made it better.
Yeah, a little bit of trial and error goes a long way for sure.
Definitely. But anyway, that was a heck of a move that you made to go through the middle like that. And I'm sure you were thinking about last week when you finished second and were a little bit disappointed as you're coming to the line, neck and neck with Jeff Highsong, like, oh, please give me that win.
Yeah, honestly, that thought wasn't going through my mind. My big focus tonight was I'm not going to be here next week, so I needed to get myself some good points tonight. Yeah, and then I do it by risky driving through the middle of 2 cars on the front straightaway where it could easily end in a DNF. So, but I was trying to get the maximum amount of points I could today just to make sure that no one overtakes me for that 8th position in the championship, so I can make the playoffs. But since I was 8th and I won, no one from 9th on back can overtake me next week unless they win. So I think I'm pretty much set for the playoffs, and we'll take it from there.
Excellent. Did what you needed to do. And I'll tell you something. You had such a good group of drivers up there at the end. I mean, everybody in this league is clean and respectful, but I mean, you had like the cream of the crop up there. So I'm sure that you felt like, pretty safe if you made a move like that.
Yeah, that's part of it. you know, the cream did rise to the top of this race, but I really am kicking myself for my pit stops because both of them are pretty subpar. And if the cream of the crop did rise to the top, and I had missed some traffic, or rather draft air and such on my outlap, I would have been toast. So I was lucky, and shout out to, I think it was Laston or maybe Rankin actually, that helped me springboard past him and to catch back up to the lead pack again.
Were you worried at all that you guys might not catch them?
After I had my poor pit stop, and well, my first thought was when Nick overtook Henry and I before my pit stop, I thought for sure he was going to run away, just because he had enough fast laps to catch back up through the pack and get to the front of it again. I was worried that Nick was going to have too much of a gap for us to catch him for the last 10 laps.
I kind of thought it wasn't totally going to work out because Nick would be up there without anybody to draft with for a little bit, and that was going to hurt him as far as everybody behind him who was in packs of 2 and 3.
Yeah, you need to work with the right person on this kind of track just because you're flat out, whereas somewhere like Indy, you can kind of like use the 2 corners to get yourself locked back into the draft again, whereas here you're just on a circle, essentially. And it's very hard to draft properly when you're kind of like on a curve on the front straightaway, and no real opportunity for an optimum line.
Okay.
But you also have to have the right person that knows what they're doing too. So you kind of have to have trust in who you're racing with to say, okay, you go here, you go there, you go here, you go there, kind of thing. And I know Matt Wagner has alluded to that as well in previous races, commenting on some of the way that we swap draft.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is you got to be able to work with each other and make the right moves at the right time. And like I said, see, obviously not the pit stops you're hoping for, but I mean, still you're able to put yourself in contention, like I said, and make those big moves to grab the win here tonight. So I'll say just awesome job tonight. Like I said, and Steve and I were mentioning, it's just a lot of fun watching you guys battle it out there for the win here this evening. So yeah, just hats off, man. Like I said, able to hopefully position yourself in the position to stay in that top 8, get into those playoffs, and then see what you can do with some of the guys that we expect to kind of see week in and week out. So just awesome job tonight, Andrew, and definitely want to give you the floor though before we let you go for any thanks and shouts I'd like to give for that win tonight.
First, I'll shout out my roommate, who I hope I'm not waking up right now. He's back from an overseas trip, so he's asleep right now, trying to catch back up to time. So shout out to him for putting up with the sounds of the racing tonight, first of all. And then, of course, shout out to you guys in the league and you guys broadcasting. It's a lot of fun watching the races afterwards. Shout out to my Team Talent guys, PRO guys that are all watching tonight. And yeah, we'll see what happens from here. Hope you guys have a good race next week because I won't be here, and I'll be watching.
Well, we will miss you, and I hope that nothing unusual happens to knock you out of the top 8.
Yeah, that would be kind of icing on the cake for what my driving's been like lately, despite what I did tonight. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll be watching just to make sure.
But congrats on that win. I mean, it was really fun to watch you guys battle it out there at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well done, Andrew. Yeah, definitely enjoy this one, man. And yeah, welcome back to your roommates. Hopefully they can get readjusted to, like I said, get those time zones back. Cause that's always a tough one to bounce back from. But like I said, next week will be interesting. Say Atlanta, that's going to be I think a definite wild card. As I think a lot of drivers really haven't run that with this car before. So it'll be fun to see how what that one's got in store for us. And like I said, then already coming to playoff time, try to beat the holidays, if you will, get it in before Christmas. So yeah, just great job tonight, man, and look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks time.
Yeah, definitely, I'll be here, so I'll catch you guys then.
All right, Steve, that is our race winner in that 64 of Andrew Wood. Like I said, I mean, it turned into about that 6-7 car race at the end. A little bit of net code, unfortunately, dropped Henry out of contention, but again, though, Henry, no tires there, was able to still make those big moves, put himself right in an ideal spot there. I think, but like we talked about, I think if Nick Degroot, if he had a helper there, maybe went with that same strategy that he did, they could have maybe made that race between two of them. But unfortunately, he was kind of rolling solo there at the end. But just what a finish! I mean, that was really exciting racing coming to the finish there.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I would like to say also that Andrew Wood is the only one that finishes the race not in the infirmary of the top three.
Well, so that's always a bonus as well. So yeah, we didn't get to see all the post race stuff there, but yeah, just what a race though by these guys. Saying you have to wonder though too. I mean, does that affect any potential bonus points again? Because there are the bonus points for a clean race car, so hopefully that doesn't affect anybody's top 8 positions as well. Say because yeah, it could come down to like we always talk about those bonus points. We'll have to wait and see. We'll definitely look into those points going into the finale next week. The regular season finale, I should say, next week. And yeah, Steve, I mean, we're a week away from playoff time already. It's crazy to think that it's been already 10 weeks here.
Yeah, I can't believe how fast it's gone.
Or no, 6 weeks here. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of the game here. But yeah, but Steve, as always, sir, a pleasure able to do these broadcasts with you. And it's always a lot of fun to be able to hang out with you when we're not racing and kind of talk racing and have fun with these guys. But yeah, looking forward to next week at Atlanta. I think that's going to be a very interesting one. I say it's a very fast track, a lot of banking. We'll see how quickly these guys adjust to that one.
Yeah, definitely, and enjoyed this as always, Gael. I would like to also give you a shout out for winning the, I believe it was the AOLL truck race this week. Is that the one?
Yeah,
Or
I snookered in some fuel mileage on those guys. Barely was able to stretch the mileage, but was able to make it happen. So that was definitely a nice little surprise there. And and then I got to return the favor for you. So I know you got a big championship to battle for coming up on Sunday over there as well with the Cup car. So definitely hope to join you with that and help you any way I can. But it's always fun to kind of get a little bit of everything with the leagues and with racing. I say it's a very pretty small, tight knit community, so always a blast to be able to share it with you and with all of the other guys that we know.
Yeah, thanks. Likewise, and you definitely are a master strategist. So hopefully we can come up with something.
I'll do my magic as best I can, Steve. And of course, to everybody watching, thank you all so much for supporting us here at Green White Checkered TV. Again, lots of great racing, lots of partnerships as well. Obviously, here with Dark Horse, they race on Wednesday nights. Their season's going to be starting up pretty soon, so if you're interested in doing some more open wheel races, they run the DW12 cars over there, so definitely check them out as well. And of course, I'll be back here on Green White Checkered TV on Thursday for the Super Speedway Truck Series, partnered up with TW Motorsports. And then Sunday, Monday nights as well, Xfinity cars at Super Speedways, and then Monday night Next Gen at Max Speed TV for those 2 races. So check them out as well at Area 51. Until then, though, hope you all have a wonderful evening. Hope you all had a very happy Halloween. Until then, though, have a good night and take care, everyone.
Night, everybody.